Now let us quickly look at what we call types of political parties. We have different types of political parties. We have what we call the elitist party. You have the mass party. You have the broker party. You have the religious party. You have the ideological parties. You have what we call the charismatic parties. Now let us quickly look at them one after the other. Now let's start with the first one, which is the elitist party. Now, when you talk about the elitist party, you are referring to a type of party that has its membership among the highest social class. Elitist party is a party that has its membership from among among the highest social class in the society. When you talk about social class, you're talking about people with the with the highest number of with the highest number of intellectual capability. We are talking about people that belongs to the elitist class or people that belongs to the upper class. So when such people come together to form a political party, you refer to such a political party as what? As being elitist. Now, political parties that are elitist are, they are, conservative in nature, and they believe that people with the highest social class should be the one that should belong to this party, and not riffraffs or ragamuffins. So when you talk about such a party, you are referring to those like doctors, lawyers, engineers, and the rest of them. When you talk about these people, they have gone through the four walls of universities, or they have gone to acquire what we call Western education, and they are very, very rich. They don't belong to the lower class. So when you have such people, coming together to form a political party, you call it what? An elitist political party. Now let us go to the second one, which is called the mass party. Now, when you talk about the mass party is the opposite of the elitist party. So when you talk about the mass party, you're talking about a party that gathers all its members from every section of the country, and this party, is always in the highest number. Now, if you look at it very well, in every society, you discover that the numbers of elite in every society are not greater than the numbers of what of the lower class in the society. The lower class always form the majority, while the elite will always form what we call the minority. So when you talk about the mass party, you are talking about the party that belongs to the lower class of people that has its membership from every section of the country. And when you talk about such a party, you are referring to what we call they are talking about what we call a mass party. Now, mass party can refer to as what as a labor party. You understand? So that is it. So if you're talking about a mass party, they draw their membership from every section of the society, and they belong to the lower class as opposed to the upper class under the elitist party. Now, the third one is what we call the broker party. If you're talking about the broker party, you are talking about a party that is formed to incorporate both the elite, the elite, and the lower class together. So when you talk about such a party, you're talking about the party that does membership from both the elitist side and also from the masses side. So the interest or the major aim of this party is to what? To close the conflicting gap between the so-called elite and the masses. So the elitist party draws their membership both from the broker party draws their membership from both the masses and the elite. So they aim to reconcile the differences between the elitist and the masses by promoting the interests of both a group of people. So masses elitist broker party has its members from both the elitist party and the masses party. So when you talk about a broker party, is the combination of the elitist and the and the masses party. So such when you have both both of them together like that, forming a party like that, you call it a what? A broker party. Now, the next one is what we call religious party. Religious party. Or, when you talk about religious party, you are talking about a party that is formed of what on religious, you know, etiquette. When you have the so-called group of, Christians or Muslims or these other parts of religions coming together to form a party, you are referring to such a party as a religious party. So a religious party is the so-called party of the born again. They have religious sentiment and they aim at what has also what contesting for election and what and governing the country. So a religious party is a party that is formed to by the so-called born agains to contest for an election and also to govern the country. So such kind of party is called a religious party. Then we have what we call the charismatic party. Charismatic party. Now, when you talk about a charismatic party, you are referring to the kind of party that is, that is formed based on the charisma of their leaders, based on the charismas of their leaders. And what are the charisma? You are talking about charisma, you're talking about the extraordinary quality of an individual that endears him to people. So when you talk about charismatic party, you're talking about a party that is formed based on what? On the charisma of its leadership. And one of the problems of the charismatic party is that whenever the leaders of such party dies, it's got out that it also dies with the party. The party will also collapse. We have an example of such parties in Nigeria, like the Unity Party of Nigeria under Awolowo, the party under Nnamdi Azikiwe also. Most of these parties, with the demise of their leaders, such parties also they also died. So charismatic parties are parties that are formed based on the quality of what? Of the leaders, extraordinary qualities of the leaders of such parties. So political parties are what are formed by individuals that are led by charisma. They are led by charisma. And when such parties when such leaders their demise or they die, it's called that in most cases such parties will also not exist again because they are formed on the charisma of their leadership. Now let us now quickly look at what we call advantages of party system, advantages of political parties. What are the advantages? Number one, political parties allow democracy to thrive. That's one of the advantages. Political parties allow democracy to thrive. And what do we mean by that? We see that political parties is a platform through which people can effect a change of a government. So they allow for democracy to thrive in the society. In that when the party in power is no longer serving the interests of the people can decide to change such a party during the period of election. So the political parties they serve as an engine of change to allow democracy to thrive in a society. Then another one is that political parties they also serve as a medium of public enlightenment through their campaigns, symposia, and the rest of them. It's called out that political parties through this they can be able to enlighten members of the public and also to make the members of the public to form what we call a political participation. They, through their public enlightenment, a lot of people are enlightened and they are knowledgeable about how government is being run in the society. So that's number two. Then number three is that political party can serve as an agent of dissemination of information to members of the public. So they serve as an agent of information dissemination to members of the public. Then number four is that through their manifestos, they help to guide government in performing its onerous responsibilities. So the party's manifestos, which I've discussed earlier, will help the government to perform its responsibilities to the members of the public. Then another one is that political parties help to to arouse the interest of the people in what? In participating in the election of a country. They help to arouse the interest of the people. They stimulate this interest. They arouse the interest of people by participating what? In election in a country. So another one is that political party bridge the gap between the people and the so-called politicians by bringing the government nearer to the people. So in other words, political parties also what? Help to bring the government nearer to the people. So so we can see that political parties what? They perform very numerous functions. Another one is that you can also say that political parties are what? Are agents of change. Whenever a government comes into power, and like I said earlier, if the government is no longer past, um, you know, taking out or carrying out the interests of people, people can decide to effect a change of government in the future by voting for another parties. So that is it. So then another one is that the existence of political parties in the country help towards in the divergence of what of public opinion. So political parties serve as what as a medium through which what people can actually what talk about their public opinion in the society. Now let us now look at the disadvantages of political parties. Now, one of the disadvantages of a political party is that because of the divergence of opinions, they can polarize a country. What do we mean by polarize? Because of the divergence of opinion, you know, they can divide a country, whereby, thereby creating what? Lack of peace, So they can polarize the government, the country into different segments, thereby what? Discouraging or what? Or leading to political instability. Then another problem with political parties is that whenever there is election, you discover that you know it can breed what we call thuggery, arson. It can breed what we call political instability because of the role played by these so-called political talks. In the sense that on the day of election, they can go on the rampage by destroying what, stealing, and what, and intimidating what voters during the period of election. The another one is that political party system is very expensive to operate. It's called that in a country like in Nigeria, we spend a lot of money, to organize these political parties and also to conduct election in the country. In the country. The other thing is that the area that does not vote for the government in power might be isolated by the government. For example, in a period of election, if a certain area, after the result have been released and a certain area did not vote for the government in power, it's covered that at the end of the day, the government might decide not to develop that area, thereby causing what? Thereby causing underdevelopment of that particular area. So, which is not good for the system. Then, political system or party system or political parties can also breed what we call nepotism and sectionalism in the country, in the sense that when the party comes into power, it is now favoring some part of group of people at the expense of the society at large. So it's covered out that at that particular level, it will breed what we call sectionalism. It will breed nepotism. It will even breed what we call tribalism. It will bring tribalism. Then another thing is that politics in our part of the world is regarded as what? As dirty politics. And as a result of that, people that have good intentions are scared away from participating in politics. Because in developing societies, politics is seen as a do or die affair. And as a result of that, a lot of people do not want to participate in politics, not to endanger their lives. because politics is what is seen as a do or die